What's going on, everybody? Wednesday, October 6th. Let's get into the watch list. Today, I'm taking a look at Tesla, Netflix, Amazon, AMD, and AFRM. And then just want to highlight the mental notes. So obviously, it's been a bit of a misdirectional market. I feel like there's just no follow through. Every single bounce just continues to get sold. It can make for a bit more difficult trading environment because there's increased volatility, there's misdirection. Sometimes the follow through just isn't there. Waiting for clean setups is important. I don't feel the need to push it. And then going back to what I always talk about, where one good trade is all it takes, just trying to not overtrade in this environment. Okay, so now let's get into the technicals, starting with SPY. So couldn't even hold the prior day bounce, still below the 9 EMA. The upside level I'm looking at, 431. If it can take that out and hold up, maybe this has a bit of a bounce, but just realizing that strength continues to get sold in this market. And then the downside, 427. And now the Qs, so similar situation, could barely even hold the prior day bounce, still below the 9 EMA as well. The upside level that I'm watching, 356, and the downside level, 352. And now Tesla, so 2 days ago on the news for deliveries, that news got sold. Not very surprised because in the current market, strength continues to get sold. Pretty nasty candle, barely holding the 9 EMA. So the levels that I'm watching for today, the upside 774 and the downside 765. And now Netflix, so had a very nice momentum candle yesterday. It closed at a new all-time high, looking for some continuation today, especially if this dip gets bought in the market. Hopefully this can show some relative strength. That would be a trade I'd be interested in taking. The upside level that I'm looking at, 633.25 pre-market high. Also knowing that prior day high is above 640.39, and that would be a new all-time high. And then the downside, pre-market low, 628. And now Amazon, so check out this 31.76. This is a massive area of support, triple bottom. If the market is weak today and that breaks, I feel like this could get some serious selling pressure. So the upside level that I'm looking at is 32.13, that pre-market high area. If it holds that, continues to move higher, I don't want to fight that short-term trend. And then the downside, that 31.76, that's that main level. If that breaks, I feel like Amazon could have a bad day. And now AMD, so it's under the 9 EMA, the 20 SMA, and the 50 SMA, 100, big whole number, clear area of support. It's tested that a couple times. If it breaks that, I think it could get some selling pressure, especially if the market is weak. So the upside level I'm going to be watching, pre-market high, 190, and the downside, 100. And last on the list, AFRM. So it's had a really nice move from right around 70 to a high of right around 130, starting to show some weakness. It's below the 9 EMA and the 20 SMA on the daily. 107 is a big area of support. If it breaks, I think it could get some selling pressure, especially if the market is weak. So the levels that I'm watching, to the upside, pre-market high, 110, and then to the downside, that main level, big area of support, 107. Okay, there's the bell. And like always, it's all about trying to find the best setups, the ones that fit my personality, my trading style, and just try to execute well. A couple minutes into the morning, and I already know that it could take a little bit for market direction. The market has been a little misdirectional lately. A lot of strength is getting sold. As far as the daily charts, they've been choppy the last handful of trading days. Everything is still a little bit weak on their daily charts. So I really just want to wait for clear direction, clean setups, the technical levels. And if it takes a little bit for that to happen, I'm okay with just being patient and waiting for that. If nothing looks clean, then I don't want to force it. Market's showing a little bit of strength. I'm watching this Netflix, 640, that prior day high. If it breaks through it, maybe this can have some continuation. Struggling at that prior day close. But what I would like to see Netflix do, get above the prior day close, consolidate for a little bit, knowing that the technical level is above 640, form some sort of flag pattern, and that would be where I want to take the trade. 10 minutes in, still just waiting. I don't see anything I like. It feels like the market's still trying to figure out which way it wants to go. So a lot of trading is just about being patient, patiently waiting for what looks right for you. And then when it does, that's the time to execute. I like to wait till one of the stocks that I'm looking at, because I'm looking at all of them collectively on my left screen, yells at me, tells me what it's doing, big move to the upside, big move to the downside, and then wait for some consolidation and looking for continuation. Feels a little slower so far. Still watching everything, but I don't see anything that looks really good. Let me check out this Netflix. Just barely moving. Quick little market update. SPY had the push off the open, above the 9, above VWAP. Can it continue to go higher? We shall see. Looking at the Qs. Nice strong move so far. Can it hold it? We'll see. Looking at Tesla, above the 9, above the VWAP. Looking at Netflix, same thing. Amazon, nice push off the open, went green. Looking at AMD, all looks very similar. Just big push off the open, and then AFRM, nice move higher as well. A lot of these are moving into resistance to the left, so I am just waiting. I want to be slightly more patient. But if things continue to move to the upside and SPY and Qs are strong, I want to focus on stocks that are the strongest. And to me, that's going to be Netflix, because Netflix just made a new all-time high yesterday. So clearly very strong daily chart. And that's what I would be focused on trading. And then if things start to reverse and stocks start to take out the low a day and there's some selling pressure, there's technical levels below on all these names. Still watching and waiting. This can be the toughest part of trading. When things don't look good, no reason to click any buttons. That's usually how I give money back. So just patiently waiting for a quality setup, so that way I don't end up feeling like I gotta force something, because anytime I do that, it usually leads to a really bad outcome. So just want to touch on something about technical levels. I get the technicals from the daily and then use pre-market high, pre-market low, things like that, but there also can be an intraday technical level. So when things consolidate for a bit and then there's a high a day set and a low a day set, that's kind of a real-time technical level that I can add to the list. Just because if things consolidate for a while and then they finally choose a direction and it takes out the highs or the lows, I feel like there's going to be follow through. So on top of the levels that I'm getting from the daily chart and then pre-market high and pre-market low, I do look at the high a day and then the low a day. So I am keeping that in mind, especially if things have gone sideways for a while, because I think that when it takes that level out, whether it be to the upside or the downside, that it's going to have some follow through. Because if there's a big push off the open, I would think that people who are just short-term players, if it starts to roll over, whatever stock that is, and it takes out the low a day, that's probably where they're going to stop out. Because if it takes out the low a day, you never know if it can go further. And then vice versa, if it's to the downside and people are short, and then it takes out the high a day, I would think that would be their stop. So that way they don't get caught, because you never know. Takes out the highs, it can go a lot further. And just speaking from kind of how I go about it and what I think, if I'm long or short anything, that's going to be where I want to get out. So that way I don't get caught for a possible bigger move than expected. And I know there's a lot of other people that think the same thing. So on top of the levels that I get from the daily and pre-market high and pre-market low, I'm using those intraday levels, high of day and low of day, as significant technical levels too. That's why trading can be so difficult, because there's a lot going on and it's just trying to process all that data at once. And that's why watching so many stocks is really hard. I know some people like to watch 8, 10, 12 stocks at once, and I have no idea how they do it. I can't do it. I can only watch anywhere from 4 to 6. 6 is the high end, and there's plenty of times where when I have the 6 charts up, I'm focusing on a couple, and then even though they're all on the same screen, I still miss a trade just because I'm so zoned in on what's going on in that individual stock. So 4 to 6 is my sweet spot. Obviously 4 is better because it's less, and then 6 is towards that high end. That's really all I can manage, because there's so much going on at once that when I'm looking at too much, I usually end up catching a whole lot of nothing. All right, so things are getting interesting now, because SPY had that push, broke below the 9, below VWAP, starting to show some weakness, takes out the low of day. If this remains weak, there are a lot of technical levels below, and you also have a weak daily chart. SPY and the Qs, both below the 9 EMA, the 20 SMA, below the short-term moving averages. In a market where strength continues to get sold, this shows right here, strength is getting sold for now. So if it breaks the low and remains weak, could get some selling pressure, and then that would mean a lot of the stocks that I'm watching should get some selling pressure as well. And that's why getting an idea of the sentiment of what the current market environment is also crucial too. It's very important, because if you look at Tesla, this had a really big push off the open. This did look like a nice flag pattern. The only downside is that I know the last handful of days, rips have been getting sold. Strength has been getting sold. So if I'm taking longs into strength, it just feels like that's not a high probability trade with what's going on in the current environment. So it's all about trying to analyze what's going on day to day, and then being able to wait for the pattern, the pattern that I like around the technical level, and then based on the environment conditions that are going on at that moment. That's why trading is so hard. It's all about adapting to ever-changing environments and then being able to trade accordingly. Had this had a longer period of consolidation, still held up above the 9, above VWAP, and SPY remained strong and didn't start to sell aggressively, if SPY ended up taking out the highs and then trending higher, pushing higher, then Tesla would have looked better for a long. But being that it just came straight up off the open in an environment where strength continues to get sold, to me, that's just not a high probability setup. Now, it's very easy to overthink this and then constantly think the opposite every single time something is moving. I try to just keep it very simple. What's happened the last couple days? And then if there's a big push off the open with some stocks, just be careful about going long. And then even if I decide to take a trade, just realizing that the strategy that I go by, the mentality that I go by, it's always a go quick or just try to get out attitude. So even if I go against some of those things, the key with all of it is to manage the downside. If it's not working quick, I just want to get out of the way. And this is trading for you. So I was interested in Netflix long, but my thesis did not play out. So that's why you got to be open-minded. I wanted to see this hold above the 9, hold above VWAP, consolidate for a bit, have the market start to pick up, show some strength. And then if this got to 640, that would have been a trade I would be interested in taking, but it did not do that. So because it didn't do that, it's a no trade. And now you have SPY showing some weakness, so took out the lows. Q's showing weakness as well. Tesla pulled back. You got Netflix showing some weakness. Amazon about to take out the low a day. AMD, same thing. So I'm really just waiting. If things start to roll over aggressively, the market starts to get some selling pressure, I'm going to be looking for some downside flags. If we continue to just trade sideways after this big pullback a little bit and it just chops around, I'm not going to force anything. I want to wait for it to be clean. Otherwise, I'm not going to force anything. I'm still just watching and I don't see anything I like. Feels like it's just one of those days. I rarely have days like this where I don't take trades, and we're going on almost 40 minutes into the day and I still haven't taken a trade. So I know that when it's this far in and I don't see anything I like, if I even do decide to take a trade because something looks really good, it's only going to be 3 contracts. I'm already going to size down, manage the risk by realizing it's not A+ action. That's how I do it. No reason to take bigger size. If anything, I'm going to take smaller size just because things are a little choppy. I don't see them that clearly. I don't see anything I like, and I don't want to take unnecessary risk. It's been a long time since I've had a day where I have taken 0 trades, and it feels like this could possibly be one of those days. And if today ends up being a day where I take no trades, it's not that big of a deal. This is how I'm trying to see it. It's better than taking trades and forcing things and losing money. If I'm just 0 and flat on the day, then so much better than being red, because there's been plenty times where days like this happen. I kind of get a feel that the price action just isn't great. I still try to force trades. And then funny enough, it's usually the days where I actually overtrade. I start overtrading because the price action is not that good. I'm not getting follow through. I take 1 trade, it doesn't work. 1 leads to 2, 2 leads to 3. A lot of them just don't get follow through, and then I get totally chopped up. So just trying to see it for the good side, which is if I don't lose any money and I don't make any money, it's not that big of a deal. I'm flat on the day. It's so much better than overtrading, getting chopped up, and being red. Trading is all about managing risk, trying to protect that downside. If that means that I just take no trades because I did not see any setups that meet my criteria, I still think that I did an all right job because I listened to my rules and I didn't force any trades. All right, so let's do a quick market update. SPY took out the lows, bouncing under VWAP. Looking at Q's, little bounce as well, under VWAP. Looking at Tesla, big move off the open. It's giving it back. Similar thing with Netflix. Same with Amazon. A lot of these stocks, they're right at 9, they're right at VWAP, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Looking at AMD, similar looking chart. And then AFRM, similar as well, pullback under VWAP. What happens? I have no idea, but we're getting close to that time where I usually have taken trades up to this point, and then I am done for the day. It's not very exciting, but I keep the videos real, and this just shows that every now and then, sometimes you have days where things aren't that clean. Welcome to being a trader. I try to wake up each day and take quality setups, and if I have a day where I just don't see anything, then I'm not going to take any trades. We're 45 minutes into the day. Price action is still pretty slow. I don't want to push it, so I'm just going to call it. So now let's go look at something that's pretty strange. Look at the P&L box. No trades. Been a while since I've seen that, but it's better than losing money. Sorry the video wasn't more entertaining, but I appreciate you watching. Hopefully you had a good day, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. I just want to highlight a couple really cool things that I have to offer. The first is my newsletter watch list that I'm going to be posting on my private Twitter 30 minutes before the open of each trading day. Here's an example of what that's going to look like. So I'm going to do a quick overview of the market, the SPY, the Qs, the upside levels, the downside levels, and then a sentence or two as to the overall bigger picture. make sure to highlight any market news or events that are happening that day. And then I'm going to list the 4 to 6 stocks that I'm watching that day, if there's any company specific news, all the upside levels and the downside levels, and then do a quick bigger picture, a couple sentences as to what's going on in the daily chart. This is everything that's in my head prior to market open. This is how I prepare, and a really easy way to get access to my trading process. One page with everything I'm looking at, all the technical levels, and all the news delivered 30 minutes before market open in a really organized fashion. Also, I have a call service, so if you want something that's a little bit less of a commitment, you want to connect with me directly, talk about my trading, my journey along the way, and just connect with another trader, this is really great. And this can be a video call or a regular call, whatever you're comfortable with. It's a one-time fee, and it's going to be for 1 hour. So if you're interested in either one of these, I will put the links in the description below.